A Secret Shared tells a story about two women, Addyson and Selina, that operates on several levels at once. It's about intergenerational tension, about shame and secrecy, and about the quiet ways queer people find recognition and solace in each other. At its surface, it's a domestic drama. Addyson returns to find Ruby has thrown a party in her absence, creating mess and tension. Their initial confrontation reads like a classic older sibling-younger sibling clash, even though they're not related. Addyson scolding Ruby for irresponsibility, Ruby firing back that she's being treated unfairly, and the familiar generational refrain of "you don't understand me." But then, through dialogue, we learn Ruby's behavior isn't just youthful rebellion. She's been carrying a history of trauma and ostracism after being outed as gay in high school. She explains to Addyson that her best friend betrayed her, telling everyone about her sexuality, which led to bullying, isolation, and a digital erasure of her social presence. This revelation reframes Ruby's earlier defensiveness. She's not simply lazy or entitled. She's a young adult still processing the scars of homophobia, trying to regain her footing in a world that has already rejected her once. Addyson's shift from anger to empathy is key. That night, she goes to Ruby's room to apologize, acknowledging she shouldn't have pushed. This is the beginning of solidarity. Addyson confesses her own hidden truth. She, too, is attracted to women. She grew up in a different time, she says, when pretending to be straight felt easier. This moment resonates deeply with lesbian viewers because it captures a generational divide. One woman forced to hide in adulthood, another outed too soon in adolescence, but also a bridge between their experiences. Both know what it's like to live under the weight of secrecy, shame, and cultural hostility. Their conversation about sexuality is remarkably tender and grounded. Ruby articulates how innate her identity is, as natural as the sun rising and setting, a line that directly rebuts society's insistence that same-gender attraction is abnormal. Addyson, meanwhile, shows how queerness can survive even when hidden. This interplay illustrates a truth many lesbians recognize: the push-pull between visibility and survival, between self-knowledge and public disclosure. Women watching this scene, whether lesbian, bi, queer, or straight, can relate to its themes of secrecy, longing, and risk. Many women have experienced being misunderstood or judged for their desires, or pressured to conform to a heteronormative script. Even straight women can empathize with the fear of being socially punished for stepping outside gender norms. The moment when Ruby asks, "Do you think it's wrong?" and Addyson answers, "Some people might, but it feels right, doesn't it?" encapsulates the tension between external stigma and internal truth. This is a universal dilemma. Do you trust your own feelings or the judgment of others? Their kisses, framed in the story as tender and hesitant rather than graphic, signify a turning point. This is Ruby's first intimate experience with another woman. It's also Addyson's reawakening to a part of herself she buried. In a SFW reading, these kisses represent mutual recognition, self-acceptance, and the breaking of silence. For lesbian viewers, this moment may recall their own first same-sex kiss, the mix of exhilaration and fear, the thrill of finally aligning desire with reality. For straight viewers, it still maps onto the experience of making a vulnerable confession and being met with reciprocity instead of rejection. A Secret Shared also points to why society often hates seeing two women in love. Historically, relationships between women have been ignored, erased, or fetishized rather than respected. Patriarchal cultures are uncomfortable with the idea of female intimacy that excludes men because it undermines traditional gender power structures. It's no accident that Addyson has him somewhere in the background, a partner or a man whose presence symbolizes the heteronormative framework she's been living in. Ruby's question, "You're not going to tell him, right?" underscores the danger of exposure. Secrecy becomes both a shield and a prison. Yet the film suggests secrecy can also be a bond. Secrets are worth finally sharing with somebody, a line that gestures toward the liberation that comes from confiding in a kindred spirit. In LGBTQ+ culture, secrecy and disclosure have always been central themes. Coming out is not a single event, but a continual process of choosing who to trust. This story dramatizes that process. Addyson and Ruby's conversation is essentially a miniature coming-out narrative for both characters. The age difference adds another layer. Many queer women, especially younger ones, have looked up to older queer mentors or confidants who show them that survival and happiness are possible. Here, Addyson embodies that potential. Yet she also still carries her own scars. The reciprocity between them is poignant. Ruby receives validation. Addyson receives rediscovery. Another powerful element is Ruby's assertion that she just knew she was gay. This challenges the persistent myth that young people can't know their sexuality or that same-sex attraction is a phase. Her certainty echoes research showing that many queer people recognize their orientation early, even if they don't act on it. By including this line, the story reinforces the legitimacy of queer identity and the harm done by disbelief. The film also touches on the legacy of internalized homophobia and generational shifts in acceptance. Addison says she grew up in a different time. Indeed, older lesbians often had fewer role models and more overt hostility. Younger generations, while facing new forms of harassment like cyberbullying, also have more access to online communities and positive representation. The clash between Addyson and Ruby at the beginning of the story mirrors this generational tension. One appears together and responsible, the other chaotic and wounded. But both are struggling with how to live authentically in a world that still stigmatizes them. Women Who Watch a Secret, Shared, may also resonate with its exploration of emotional labor. Addyson begins as a disciplinarian but evolves into a caretaker. Ruby begins as a rebel but reveals herself as a survivor. Their shift from adversaries to allies illustrates how empathy can transform relationships. This mirrors broader feminist principles of solidarity among women, despite differences in age, class, or experience. The question, why does society hate seeing two girls in love, is also answered by the subtext of the film. Addyson and Ruby's fear of being found out reflects the persistent policing of female sexuality. Two women together embody autonomy, emotional, sexual, and social, that destabilizes male-centric narratives. Furthermore, mainstream culture has often tolerated lesbianism only as spectacle for heterosexual men, not as authentic love between women. By focusing on dialogue, emotional confession, and mutual care, rather than sensationalized imagery, A Secret Shared reclaims lesbian intimacy from objectification. It frames their connection as private, complex, and human. Another aspect of the film that resonates with LGBTQ+ culture is its emphasis on secrets and sharing. For queer people, finding someone safe to share your secret with can be life-changing. The act of disclosure, "I'm gay, I prefer women," is an act of trust. When Addyson reciprocates Ruby's vulnerability by revealing her own orientation, she models the power of mutual disclosure. This breaks the isolation both have been feeling. It's a reminder that community, even if only between two people, can be profoundly healing. Importantly, A Secret Shared doesn't present their relationship as perfect or easy. There's guilt, hesitation, and the looming threat of exposure. This realism is part of what makes it relatable. Many lesbians will see in Ruby the younger version of themselves, hurt, tentative, craving understanding. They'll see in Addyson a version of their future selves, pragmatic, seasoned, still yearning for authenticity. Straight women may recognize the universal themes of regret, rediscovery, and the fear of social consequences for breaking norms. The film thereby invites empathy across orientations. Finally, the film's title, A Secret Shared, encapsulates the tension between privacy and authenticity. Sharing a secret is both a risk and a relief. In LGBTQ+ lives, secrecy can protect but also suffocate. Sharing can endanger but also liberate. This duality defines much of queer experience. By dramatizing that in the interaction between Addyson and Ruby, the film shows how two people can become each other's refuge, even if only temporarily. In conclusion, A Secret Shared resonates because it's not only about a romantic spark, but also about the broader emotional landscape of LGBTQ+ life. The scars of early rejection, the risk of honesty, the discovery of mutual recognition, and the quiet, defiant joy of loving who you love even when society disapproves. Lesbian viewers will relate to the coming-out undercurrents, the generational contrast, and the portrayal of their first genuine connection with another woman. All women can relate to the themes of secrecy, vulnerability, and the courage to confess hidden truths. And society's discomfort with two women in love is precisely why stories like this matter. They challenge outdated norms, replace fetishization with authenticity, and normalize the idea that women's desires and relationships exist on their own terms. In showing Addyson and Ruby move from conflict to intimacy, from secrecy to sharing, the film provides a small but potent vision of what it means to be seen, understood, and embraced as you truly are.